first point that opponents made about complications that could arise from surrogacy, my question is, they didn't seem to show or explain anything that would be different from complications that could arise from a natural pregnancy. Any medical issues could happen. You could have pre-existing things. An accident could happen during there. So that doesn't make, it doesn't make that one any worse, or it doesn't make surrogacy any worse than a natural pregnancy. The second idea about them taking advantage of people, maybe lower income people. The fact is, if we were to ban it outright, and in countries that have been banned, again, we'll speak about the UK again. They're the ones that ban it outright, or ban it commercially at least. It said they're not allowed to, in banning it commercially, they're not allowed to advertise and be a surrogate or anything. There's no real network for them to, for prospective parents to find someone or a surrogate to find the parents. Because it's so difficult and you have to just know someone that's going to want to do it, that drives a lot of people overseas. And more people, if we put more restrictive laws on this, all it's going to lead to is having more people go to other countries where it's not regulated at all, where people might be more looking for more of a financial gain, something, and that's just going to lead to a whole new system where people can be taken up advantage even more because there's their country's not going to regulate it at all. Okay, I believe they mentioned the aspect that most people are, just looking for financial gain in being a surrogate. But there's several places, including one study called by Betsy Aiken called "Motivations of Surrogate Mothers: Parenthood, Altruism, and Self-Actualization," where they discussed an agency, I believe it was in the UK, that had 200 people come in, or it wasn't in the UK, I'm sorry. It was an agency that had 200 prospective women, that were looking to be surrogates come in, and in places where it is regulated heavily, and they do enforce it, there's strong screening processes that are going to eliminate those people. In this specific study, it said they had 200 applicants, and they rejected outright anyone that seemed too ambivalent about becoming one because they might not have the drive to follow through on it, or they were overly motivated by the fee, or likely to suffer any emotional problems, or the willingness not to want to give up the child, or anyone that's in a poor emotional condition, or depressed, or immature, or unstable. And then the people that they did find to keep were those. It was more of those people that felt it would be a positive emotional experience, and that had a history of pregnancy, positive, enjoyable pregnancies, and good relationships with their families, because they're going to have to be a part of the the process as well. Another study called "Genetic and Gestational Surrogate Mothers' Experience of Surrogacy" in the Journal of Reproductive Infant Psychology. There was a survey of 24 surrogate mothers, 11 that were IVF and 13 that were artificially inseminated. And it went over the issues that, or the motivations that they all had, and they generally said that the reasons for considering being a surrogate mother were generally altruistic, and that it even says 2 of them actually wanted to, they had gone through loss and through struggles as well, and wanted to help others through the process as they did. They also mentioned the cost of surrogacy. It can be, especially here in the United States, where it's the commercial aspect of it is completely permitted, or in many places, it can be can be very expensive. But there's a case it was in the Netherlands, where this also goes back to countries where they were banning it. They used to ban it in the Netherlands outright up until 1994, and once 94 came, they started to permit it. They did a study between 1997 and 2004 of the whole group of surrogate children, and they started just to permit it as a commercial, or not as commercial, just as an altruistic means. And they found that the costs, when it was just pinned down to where they could only pay for medical bills and lawyers and any adoption fees and et cetera, the prices there were between, I think, up to like 10,000 euros. They compared it to the UK, where it went up to about 18,000, and then to the US, I mean, when it's not prohibited commercially, it can go up well into, tens of thousands, 100,000. And the other fact is, well, they were comparing it to adoption, and they mentioned that adoption can take, several years to go through sometimes. That's part of the reason that people will want to look into surrogacy, because the adoption process is often so restrictive and so complicated, and there's no guarantee there of being able to actually get your child.